Well, good day everyone. Welcome back. We're going to be going over one of the exercises from section 8.3.2, and it's called Rainbow Ripples. Rainbow Ripples, not that other thing. So anyway, if you've gone over the section 8.3.1 notes, which have to do with more loops, there should be an exercise in using that style of loops with some graphics in order to make this sequence of circles. So do we see repetition in this graphic? Yes, we see the circle inside another circle, inside another circle, inside another circle. And they all seem somewhat similar. So we're going to do the same thing or a similar thing over and over again. So again, the point of loops, not necessarily to repeat the same thing, but to repeat a sequence where there's a pattern, and we can then calculate to figure out what that pattern is and try to code that. Okay, so these aren't really ripples. I was rippled off, and no, I'm not sorry for that. It says, then hold down the up and down arrow keys. Notice how circles are drawn with different distances in between. Whoa. So there we go, the up and down arrows. Well, that's neat, isn't it? It's like a CD. You've all seen CDs. Okay, so let's get to coding. So in the coding, let's just look at the things that are there already. We have some out variables. The background is black. The ripple space starts out with a value of 40. And then there's a group, right? So at the start, that is just an empty group called ripples. You'll see there is a function, which is almost empty right now, called draw ripples. And then there's a call to that function. So automatically, this draw ripples function is going to get called. Boom. Below that, we've got already written for us all the things that take care of the up and down arrows. So the up and down arrows are going to change that value of that ripple space. If you press up, it's going to increase the ripple space by 2. If you press down, it's going to decrease the ripple space by 2. And then it's going to call draw ripples again. So if we change what that spacing is, it has to go through and do our other function again, drawing the ripples with each key press. Okay, so let's get to the comments and see what they describe for us. It says to draw the ripples from the middle of the canvas to the edges. So that's kind of dictating, remember before I said in the description we have a circle inside a circle inside a circle. The way this is worded, it's saying that we have a circle outside of a circle, outside of another circle, outside of another circle. So we're going from the middle outward. Okay, so we're increasing. And that's more standard with the for loop to think it through that way, but we could do it the other way as well. The distance between the ripples is determined by app.ripplespace. So that variable that was already set up for us on line 2, we're going to use that to indicate how far we go between ripples. And you see it seems somewhat consistent that that distance, and that distance, and that distance are the same. Okay. It says here the radius of the smallest circle should determine where you start the for loop. So remember we have low, high, and step. So our low value has to do with the radius of the smallest circle. 200 should be the end value though. So there's our low and our high indicated for us. Okay, and it says then add each circle you draw to the ripples group. Okay, so there's a number of tasks we have to do here, right? So let's start with the for loop. For something in range. Well, that's something, sometimes it's I if we have just a basic index, but it's, remember, variable naming, we want to try to name it something appropriate. Well, what is increasing each time when we go from circle to circle? It's the radius, right? So we might as well use that name for our counter variable in the loop for radius in range. Okay, and then don't forget the colon. So it said that our original value, our starting point, is the radius of the smallest circle. Well, we use our inspector. Looks like the original radius of the smallest radius is 20. So we'll start out with 20. Remember, with the range with the 3 values, it's low, then high, then step. Have your docs window open if you tend to forget things like that, or if if we haven't practiced it much yet, you don't remember, or you can write it down. So low, high, step. Our high value, as they said in the comments on line 12, 200. And our step value, the distance between ripples is determined by app.ripplespace, so we're going to use that variable as our step. App.ripple, it's camel-cased app.ripplespace. Okay. Okay. Now, ultimately, when we draw, we are going to do a circle command, right? But we do want to add those circles to the group, and the group is called, as we'll see on line 4, ripples. So we can do ripples dot. Remember, the function to add things into a group is just add. Okay. So we're going to do that. We need to put all the parameters in there for the circle function. Okay. So the circle that we're going to draw, remember, for the circle function, the first thing to put is the center. The center of all these circles is the center of the canvas, so 200, 200. The radius, which is changing for each circle, well, remember when we made our for loop, we have that radius as the counter variable for the for loop, so we're going to use that there. Another way to do it would be to do a calculation. If you remember from 8.3.1, the first example, they said for I, and then they used an I in a calculation. We could do that as well. This is just simpler because we're having the loop again take care of that calculating of the different radiuses. Okay. We need a fill value. Use our inspector. Color equals none. And you can see that on there anyway, but fill equals none. Our border then, our border looks like for that we have a changing set of colors. So remember, that's the gradient. Okay, gradient. So let's look at that with the inspector. Red, orange, yellow, lawn green. Oops, quotes. Red, orange, yellow, and then lawn green. Remember, camel cased. Okay, anything else we have to specify about that gradient or about the circles? Let's look. Doesn't seem to be anything on here, but remember that the default settings for gradient aren't always what we want to go with. And if you look here, it looks like red is at the top, lawn green is at the bottom. So we do want to set the starting point. But be careful, right? There's two sets of parentheses here. So if we were to put it out here, that's going to be outside of the border command. We want this inside of the gradient. So we want to put that start value right there. Start equals, and then top. Okay. It's been a while since we has been a while since we've done gradients. So again, docs, go back, review those things if you need. Okay. All right. Well, any other questions about this? Let's run it and see what happens. Do we have our parentheses set up right? We could always double check that, right? We've got parenthesis, 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 starting, parenthesis, 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 ending, right? And you could put this, depending on your preferences for formatting, you can put that there. All right, let's see. Run it. Hey, looks like the solution, right? So check code. And it's hanging. Come on, CMU. Nice job. Okay. Well, if there's any questions, please feel free to send me an email or pop into office hours. And we'll see you next video.